New game. We'll play one more and then we're done. We're not playing very well. You know, I lost that first game. That second game, I was down a pawn. Although I got him in the end with that little trick. Here we have a French defense. I play the advance, and if he allows me, I play a gambit known as the Milner-Barry Gambit. Takes. Queen b6. Here is the Milner-Barry Gambit. Bishop d7. Knight c3. This is the true Milner-Barry Gambit. A lot of people claim that they are recommending the Milner-Barry Gambit in their courses, and they're not. They're recommending something in the family with Bishop d3. That's a gambit, but not technically the Milner-Barry. Okay, he took both pawns. What we do is we're 2 pawns down, but we have the attack. We're attacking the queen with the rook. See where he goes. He goes to d6, very greedy. If he had gone all the way back here, then knight takes pawn. But that's not the case, so we attack the queen with knight to b5. If he takes with the bishop, we take and give check. Nope, queen back. Queen to f3 is now the move here. Bishop d6 is the book move. He does not play the book move. Bishop d6 is the book move because of this. Bishop f4. And what is he going to do about that? He can no longer intervene with bishop d6 because both knight and bishop are covering that square. So he has to go to d8, but now c7 square is covered. Knight check. And yeah, with the knight there, we can't do much. Like, we can get a pawn back, but it's better to take the exchange here. And now I'll pin the knight to the king. And we'll see if he notices. I am threatening queen takes d5. But he does see that. Okay. Just put our rook on the open file. And let's get our queen out of there. And see how he plans to untangle. Let's get rid of the bishop. You can perhaps... Okay. Now we got to take it. Okay. F4, F5. We don't have. Because of the queen on b6. Knight can hop in. Let's get rid of the knight. King to h1. This allows me to advance my f-pawn up the board because the queen was pinning it to the king. Wasn't able to play that at first. It would have put my king in check. Now, seems okay. All right, queen h5. Is he going to castle into danger? Oh, he can't. He cannot castle. He moved his king around. He's going to play there. That's Kind of crazy. Took that pawn. I'll take this one then. Check. Perhaps he didn't see that this pawn is pinned. And that was one of the points of queen to h5. Rook there. That... No, you can't just give me a whole bishop, can you? No way. No way. Just play it here. You're not doing anything with that. Like, oh, okay, you're attacking both rooks, but rook takes c6. I'm up a full rook. Okay. So I will go over that a little bit. This starts out with the French advance. Queen b6, they claim is an inaccuracy, but that's a mainline move. Yeah, they say it's a mistake. I know. All right, computers don't like my gambits. And then you see it goes back to saying it's a book move. So we're in book. We're in theory here. Book move, The knight takes. First off, a lot of people say the Milner-Barry, and then they play bishop to d3 here, which is not the Milner-Barry, where they take and take. This type of sacrifice, it also sacrifices a pawn with the bishop on d3. That's technically the Hector Gambit, named after the, I believe it's Swedish Grandmaster Johnny Hector. But yeah, named after the Grandmaster Johnny Hector. There's also what I played where instead of knight c3, you could castle. And here there are two separate gambits after knight to d4. The more popular one, which other people and courses and things have called the Milner-Barry, and it is not, is knight on b to d2. This is known as the Nun Gambit. Not John Nunn, a different Nun, different person, and just one N at the end, N-U-N, the Nun Gambit, where they take and you take, or they protect the knight with bishop c5, or, even knight retreating, like I grab the pawn and I go back. That's another gambit. And then the other gambit in this family, the final one, is after knight takes, you actually avoid the knight exchange by hopping up here. This is known as the Sorensen Gambit, which may not be fully sound, but can be quite tricky, where like the queen then flies in over here and you're threatening mate, and there's a lot of different tricks and traps in that line as well. I've always stuck with the tried and true Milner-Barry. Not quite as sound with the computers as the Hector Gambit. That Hector Gambit, where you leave them to take on c3, is actually even computer approved. But I get a lot of wins with this line. And you see, they take, I took. The main move, instead of taking, is for them to play pawn to a6, at which point you protect the pawn with queen to e2. Main line is knight here, king over, and the reason for king over is that after knight to c6, the main line is pawn to f4 to keep that pawn guarded. However, if they play that, I do not play pawn to f4. I play bishop to e3. This is a move that was played in the game Pure Iverson in like the 1950s, but it's really aggressive. They take the pawn, and now you attack like crazy. You're sacking a second pawn, and it may look like you're doing horribly here, but it's actually fairly equal. Like if they try to fork the bishop and knight, well, you play knight here. If they play queen c7, you could play bishop g5. Some people will even play f6, and now white is just outright winning. Boom! Knight takes f6. And what they don't know is that this rook is actually trapped, because after you give the check, the king can't run anywhere. The only way they could do it is play rook g6, and yeah, you're just killing them here. So it's a very interesting line, that bishop e3, forcing them to take the second pawn and then going for an attack after. But we had them take the pawn, rook e1, and now here they played the greedy queen d6, trying to hold on to all the material. The main line goes queen b8, where you immediately get one of your pawns back because this is pinned. Bishop d6, queen to g4, attacking this weakened g7 pawn. And believe it or not, if they play bishop takes, white is already better. If they try and protect here, you get them with this trick, and you're winning that rook. So yeah, it's really interesting. They play king to f8, and play bishop to d2, and again, like, this bishop takes line really doesn't work for them. It's actually an advantage to white. They have to kick your queen, and you go back here. You're pinning that pawn to the bishop, so that if they ever take there, you take here, and you already are actually better. And that's kind of crazy. It's a long theoretical line. They play bishop c6. The main line is knight to b4, which I've played. I prefer knight to e3, and then bishop c3, and we're still going for attacks, and that's the way it goes. You keep attack, and eventually you try to break through. A computer can defend. A computer thinks black is a little bit better, but in practical terms, I would say you have a really great chance at fighting for a win with this Milner-Barry Gambit. Alrighty. That's it for me. I'll see you next time.